Isn't it wonderful to have a clock tell you when we're going to start? We're glad you're here tonight. We are so appreciative of having James and Kelly Colwell with us. James is supported partially by us in his work in Costa Rica. He went there with a plan. He's been able to adapt to opportunities been made available, and it really sounds like there's a bright future in his work. And I'm so glad he can be here tonight to help us realize that we're a part of that work and appreciate what he's doing. So James, come talk to us and teach us.
It's good to be here with you tonight. We're thankful for the opportunity to share with you what we're doing in Costa Rica. Let me get the technology done first. Okay, on. We didn't, it's James's fault that I'm technologically inept, because we didn't have Technology 101 at East Tennessee School of Preaching. I started to say Florida School of Preaching because that's where I'm going to take a technology class at. But anyway, no, it's not his fault. But
if I'd have taught you, you'd been in bad shape.
Back then, you only believed in hard copies.
There you go.
Yes, I remember. Anyway, we want to talk about the work in Costa Rica tonight. We started our work in Costa Rica in 2017, as James mentioned. We appreciate the support that you give us. When we started the work in Costa Rica, the design was to work with the congregation in Perez Celedon, San Isidro, and also to establish a school to help mature the church. That's why the title is Maturing the Church in Costa Rica in 2026 and beyond. We established Escuela Bíblica Mobile in 2018. Escuela Bíblica Mobile is a school where we go and teach others in their area to help them mature. We have a 4-year course with 16 different classes, and the whole design is to help them mature so that they're ready to have leaders and to develop in the future, to grow in the future. All right. So, skipped one, didn't we? Maybe not. Okay. So there's a picture of my lovely wife. Have to get in trouble. Costa Rica is about the size of New Hampshire. You look there in the center, and I'm told I can use a little pointer, maybe. Yeah. Others can, not me. Anyway, in the center, you have San Jose. San Jose is the capital. It's about 1.5 million people in that area. If you go to the left of that, you'll see a town, or if you go above that, you'll see a town that says Gracia. Gracia is a small town of about 20,000. Right next to that is Sarchi. Sarchi is a small town, probably about 10,000, maybe 5 to 10,000. But that is where the school is going to be that we start in 2027, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. Costa Rica is a beautiful country. You have the mountains, you have ocean on both sides, you have the Pacific on one side, the Atlantic on the other. And you have all kinds of wildlife and nature that you don't normally see in other places. Here's a picture of a banana tree. I have that up there so you can see that bananas grow up. And so that's kind of interesting. That is a monkey that I found in the wild, or un mono en el salvaje. Actually, it's in Pilar. We were out evangelizing one Saturday morning, and several monkeys ran across the street, 7 of them. One jumped up in the tree. I took a picture because I hadn't seen one in that situation in the 8 years that I've been there. That's an iguana. So you see some different animals, but Costa Rica is known for their tourism, for their diversity in nature, and they are very proud of their diversity in nature. They are a green country. They want you to know they're a green country. It is illegal to hunt in Costa Rica. And you see signs that say deer crossing. I've never seen a deer, which is interesting because, like I said, you can't hunt them. So the work continues. I'm not going to go into this in great detail. We did start in 2017. We are involved in many different things. We conduct yearly seminars at the camp. We participate in campaigns. We do a Escuela Biblical Mobile, and then we've taken on a new project this year as well. When I started, there's the goals. We've talked about those several times, but I think we have achieved most of our goals, or we've achieved all of our goals in some part. So our work in Costa Rica, we worship with the congregation in San Isidro. I teach Sunday Bible class weekly. Every time that I'm in San Isidro and now Pilar, I teach Bible class. I preach usually about once a month. I conduct weekly Bible studies in both San Isidro and Pilar, normally 10 to 15 studies per week. I teach for the preaching school, Academia Estudios Bíblicos de Costa Rica. I teach for it every Tuesday night. I taught last night. I teach a class monthly at Campamento Genesú, which is in Sarchi. That's about a 6-hour trip from where I live. Talk about that more in a moment as well. And then I go to Cariari once a month, which is 6 hours the other direction. Or actually, it's go to San Jose, take a right, and you go 2 more hours. But I stay a little busy, and that's good because there's a lot of work to do. So let's talk about the new project that we started. When I first came to you, I said that Escuela Biblical Mobile is not a preaching school, and I have no desire to open a preaching school. Well, that was then, this is now. In 2018, another gentleman opened a preaching school, and we were encouraging that and helping him out with that. Unfortunately, it closed in 2020. We did not have a preaching school before 2018. We have not had one since 2020. So several of us discussed it, decided that we would open a preaching school that started in February of this year. We started online primarily. We did that because people work, and in many situations, both parents work, or the husband and the wife both work. So this is the best system for now, although we do plan on going live in 2027, and then we'll discuss whether or not we're going to continue the online classes at night. We probably will. So our first semester ran from second week in February until the last week in June, and we are in our second semester as we speak. It actually closes this week. We have a different class each night. Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday, and Friday night. 4 different instructors. The classes are an hour and a half, which equates to 2 hours when you do things the academic mathematic way. Semester 1, those are the classes that we taught. I taught Old Testament survey. This semester I taught Life of Christ, part 1, and I'll be teaching part 2 in February. There's the other courses that we'll be teaching. And, you know, this is a typical preaching school curriculum. In fact, we are following 95% of Florida School of Preaching's curriculum. We have the right to use their Bible study guides. Our responsibility is to translate them from English to Spanish, and then once we do that, we'll give them back to them and they can use them. So that's a nice agreement that we've made with Florida School of Preaching here in the last 6 months, and I appreciate Brian for helping us out with that. So there's semester 2. To talk more about the preaching school again, we started it out as a course that would be offered on the internet for the first 2 years. Then in the 3rd year, they will receive the other half of their training. James knows you can't teach homiletics via the internet, nor do you want to. There's some classes that you need to teach live, and so we will teach the last 50% live in person beginning in Sarchi. And once we go live, then we will continue to have live classes. That will be the model. The question is whether or not we'll continue to offer the classes online, and that's a decision that will have to be made, but we're certainly leaning in that direction. Academia Estudios Bíblicos de Costa Rica, the preaching school, is administered by a board. There's 10 different preachers from Costa Rica on that board, but ultimately the Morrison Church of Christ in Morrison, Tennessee, which is 45 minutes from here, has the responsibility for the oversight. I'm the director, or the interim director, probably will be the director until we graduate our first class, but we do want to find a Costa Rican or somebody from Central America to direct the school if possible. The vice director, I'm going to go through some things here. There's me. Here's the vice director. Unfortunately, he had an accident on a motorcycle back in March. This was actually during a campaign with Freed Hardeman, and so this is all of us visiting him after his motorcycle accident. Believe me, it was not a good situation. It wasn't his fault, but he broke his leg in 2 places, and he's still having difficulty walking. And they told him that it would take probably about a year to a year and a half for him to be able to walk in the same manner that he was able to before, or at least in a way to where he's comfortable. But he still walks with a limp, and we're blessed that it was not more serious. We thought at first it may be more serious, but he is the vice director. The man in the tan shirt, Eddie Cordoba, is one of our instructors. Rodon is too, and he is our treasurer. Of course, the fellow in the purple shirt is the one who died back in January, but Teo was on our board before that happened. Here's a man, Venancio Molina. He is the preacher in Upala. He's one of our board members. But like I said, we have 10 different instructors. Here are our students. You see some ugly North American there, but the other 3, the one to my right in the picture is Adrian Lopez. The one to his right is Eliezer Escobar, and then the one on my left is Juan Loasiga. Those are our 3 full-time preaching students. They all live in Upala right now, but they have plans to go to the school in Sarchi when we started there in 2027. You know, anytime you start something new, you experience some growing pains, and so we've had some things that we've discovered as we have developed the preaching school. When we came up with the idea for the preaching school, it was not fully funded. We were able to receive full funding for 2025. I do not know if we have full funding for 2026 or not. I haven't really had that discussion with our primary donor yet, but my whole attitude is we do our part, we get out and talk to people, and God will provide. So we are looking for funding for the preaching school. For funding on a monthly basis, it's about $1,500 a month, and I can give you the details on that. There you have some things that we've already talked about. As we grew, we identified the need to visit every congregation so that we can promote the school. I had all these commitments from different folks saying, yeah, I want to go to preaching school. And, okay, great. But I don't have signed applications. We had about 10 to 15 commitments, and unfortunately, those didn't come to fruition. We have others who say they're going to start in February, and hopefully they will, but right now we have 3 full-time students, 2 part-time students, and many others who say they're going to audit the classes. So we're going to go to the congregations and promote the school. We'll do that both with a live presentation, but also with a video that Marcus Grayson, who's a preacher in Florida and affiliated with Florida School of Preaching, will help me with. So we know that we need to promote the school differently so that we can get more students. And I visited 4 or 5 congregations so far. There's over 60 congregations in Costa Rica, and our plan is to visit all 60, not just me, but other board members as well, for us to visit all 60 congregations so that we can promote the school, use the video that we'll be making, and bring more students to the school. Also, we have a lectureship that we do in August or September. We did one this past year on leadership. We had about 30 in attendance. We'll be doing another lectureship this year, hopefully with far greater attendance. One last thing about the preaching school. You know, Costa Rica needs a preaching school. Why? Well, many aren't going to go to Panama. Panama has a good preaching school. It's been there for almost 50 years, I guess. But unfortunately, if you know the Costa Rican mindset, some of them are not going to go. That's just the way it is. So we've had many who preach in Costa Rica who do not have formal training. And you get all kinds of things when you don't have people who are getting training. I know you don't need formal training. In fact, the person who helps me, Tomas, that I'll talk about more, doesn't have formal training, and he does a great job of studying, and he delivers great lessons. However, when you have other influences, and I won't name names, but there's a school in Honduras that does not teach the truth that some of these people have visited. There's online schools that you can get access to that may or may not be sound. So it's better for Costa Rica to have a preaching school, for us to be teaching the natives so that they can teach others in the same manner of 2 Timothy 2:2. These things thou have heard among many witnesses, the same thou commit to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. And so as we think about that, it's great that we have this opportunity. We understand it's a tremendous responsibility, and we want to reach out to those who are interested in preaching so that they can receive the training. Something that you might be considering or questioning in your mind is only those who are males who have been recommended by their congregation and approved by the board can receive credit for our classes. Anybody can take the classes. You can take the classes. If you want to try to listen to my Spanglish, or if you want to listen to others' Spanish, you can take the classes. However, only males who have been recommended by their congregations and approved by the board will receive credit. So we're doing that to eliminate any confusion. If ladies want to take the classes, they're welcome to do that, but they cannot get credit from the preaching school. It's what we used to call at East Tennessee School of Preaching auditing a class. So anybody can audit the classes, but only those who are qualified can receive credit. Other growing pains, you know, I'll admit I don't know every preacher in Costa Rica, nor do I know every applicant. And there we have many people on the board, and somebody recommends somebody, and great, they know them, but I don't necessarily know them nor what their philosophies are. So we have designed a questionnaire with the help of West Connect, Church of Christ, similar questionnaire that I received from them when I interviewed for that position. They gave us their questionnaire, we adapted a little bit, and so from now on, any candidate will fill out the questionnaire as well as the teachers. That way we have no confusion about what people believe. And the questions aren't difficult, they're not involved, they're not controversial, but we need to have a basis of understanding so that we don't have people teaching things or believing things that are not in accordance with the Bible. Somebody needs to be open-minded. James and I know that sometimes students came to East Tennessee School of Preaching with their minds made up. You weren't going to change them, so why were they there? They weren't there to learn. So if somebody's willing to listen to the truth, that's fine. But we need to make sure that we're all on the same wavelength. Again, we start live in February 2027. Sounds like a long time away, not when you have to raise $4,000 extra a month. You know, it's going to come very quickly. And I have some plans to try to raise funds in a different manner. I've been coming back in the winter. I have to be back in the States next May for two reasons. One, my son graduates. Two, grandson, yeah. Sometimes you get ahead of yourself. My oldest grandson graduates May 22nd, and then it's on the internet, but she's probably not listening. My daughter is going to have a child in June, and so I have to be there. It's not optional. If you knew my daughter Amy, you'd understand. So anyway, since I'm coming back in May and June, I will go out and promote the school and what we're doing to congregations in the summer, and hopefully that gives them a little more time to think about things as they plan for what they're doing. There's our budget. It's $1,500 a month. Each teacher gets $200. The director gets an extra $200. I'm well overpaid. Okay, so we talked about prospective students. We talked about that as well. Here is one of our students, Eliezer. He picked me up from the bus stop, and actually, this is a later picture. The first time he picked me up from the bus stop and I rode piggyback, I did not have a helmet. It was only a mile to his house, so okay, that's fine. On this particular adventure, it was about an 8-mile trip, and we went 55 miles an hour, and I'm riding on the back of a motorcycle, trusting somebody else with my life. Not again. Because the roads are not smooth, and no, I'm too old to try new things. I've ridden a motorcycle, I've driven a motorcycle, not a fan of riding piggyback. I visited the congregation there. We talked about, reaching out. So there is the congregation in Upala of about 50 in attendance. This is a couple that I actually taught, and they were baptized 2 years ago, and they're continuing to be faithful. So Margarita and her husband, took a picture with them. Obviously, the preaching school is a big project. I'm the director. I teach. I have many responsibilities. But another thing that I'm involved with is Escuela Biblical Mobile. We won't talk a lot about Escuela Biblical Mobile tonight. That's the project that we started in 2018 with Escuela Biblical Mobile. We go to different congregations to teach them, to help them mature. We will graduate our first students this year. COVID really messed us up, put us behind. It's a 4-year course, but we will graduate our first students this year, or I should say in 2026. We have over 70 students, 4 different locations, and so we are looking to go back to La Julieta and possibly, Perro de Gracia, where we were teaching before Teo died. We will have another, the seminar on giving also will be something to promote Escuela Biblical Mobile. All right, and so there is a seminar we did 1st of November in Buenos Aires. On that map that I put up, it would be way down south. It's actually about, Buenos Aires is 3 hours. I said way down south. It's an hour from us. I was thinking of someplace else. It's La Julieta is the one that's 45 minutes from the border. But anyway, La Julieta is Buenos Aires is about 3 hours from the border of Panama. And we did a seminar there. The person speaking is Enrique Rojas, who is the preacher in La Julieta. And like I said, we've made plans to go back there and teach this year. We taught there for the years before COVID, and they're in the 3rd year in the courses. We had about 50 in attendance. This is the preacher. His father-in-law also died a year and a half ago, a different gentleman, Daniel Chavez. He is now the preacher. I was going to tell you his name before I forgot it, but anyway, Vidal Ortega Bermudez, and he hosted a seminar that we did, and like I said, we'll have the next seminar in La Julieta in 2026. This is the place that we met at in the campaign. This is the Salon Comunal in Pilar. And I show you this because we were able to have a very successful campaign in this building. Without this building, we would have had to meet. Where is it? Oh, of course, it's not there. I'll show you in a minute. But without that building, we would have met in a much smaller place. We wouldn't be able to have a campaign. So we needed to rent a facility. We did that. We had a big campaign. We had two North Americans who came and helped us. The two North Americans there are Mike and Lisa Vaughn. The other family there is David Montero and his wife Gabriela and her son Gabriel, or Gabriel in English. Here's the small group that primarily worked the campaign. And I show you this because we were able to have a very successful campaign, a campaign that exceeded my expectations. We actually had 60 adult visitors, and we met 30 children that we did not know that attended our classes. We had over 40 contacts that we made. In Pilar, there's several members who live there in that town. It's a small town, it's a rural town. I think I told you this before, but the main industry is in that area is Del Monte. They grow pineapples. They pay their people who work 72 hours a week $165. And so these people don't make a lot of money. Not these people, this is the group, this is the small group that worked, but anyway, the people who live there don't make a lot of money, but they're expected to work a lot, and so it's not really feasible for them to travel to San Isidro and spend $5 per person for transportation by the bus when they only make $165 a week. A family of four, that's $20. It's really not feasible to expect people to do that. That's why we started a congregation in Pilar last year, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. There's another picture of the workers and some others who are included. Again, we had a tremendous result in Pilar. Over 60 different adult visitors, 40 plus new contacts, 30 new children, strengthened the congregation. I showed you the Salon Comunal because after the campaign, we began meeting in the Salon Comunal. Why? Because we had a tremendous turnout, because we had a need for a different facility. And so we started meeting in the Salon Comunal. We paid $30 a week to meet there. We did have, well, just to explain the campaign, we had preaching nightly. You can see there that that's Momo, one of our men leading singing. There's a different view. That's a different night. And I'm just showing you the different visitors that we had and the amount of participation that we had. We also taught Bible classes there. The fella on the far end is Miguel. He's one of our members. He's teaching the young people there. The lady next to the lady in blue on the end is Joanna, and she taught the children in the morning and at night. Here's the group that we taught at night, but we had different kids in the morning. And then the taller lady next to her is Sharon. She's one of our translators. And then the lady on the far end is Rosita. She lives in Pilar. There's the classes at night. We had to kind of improvise and do things a little differently because we only had a small building that we could use besides the main salon, the main hall. And so we did some things outside and it worked out fine. We did have one baptism after the campaign. This gentleman's name is Hector. He lives in Pilar. We study with him weekly now. And they have continued to study with him in my absence. The lady that I'm hugging, I've known her for a long time, at least 8 years. She left the church back in 2019. I visited her and her husband, I think it was in 2020 or 2021, during COVID, encouraged them to come back. Her husband told me, well, let me talk to my wife, we'll think about it. Okay. Well, all right, he said, I'll talk to my wife and let you know, basically. But when he said that, I knew he wasn't ready to come back. Fortunately, he died 2 months later. He had a massive heart attack, went to the hospital on a Friday. They said, you've got heart issues. He died on Saturday. I have been, excuse me. I'll get it back together. We visited her several times after that happened. And we helped her, and she was a widow, and she wasn't faithful, but we helped her, and
They have several kids.
well, they had 6. 3 of them are adults, 4 now. Anyway, I can't tell you how many times I walked through her door. Really can't. At least 20, maybe more. And during this campaign, she decided to be restored. So, actually, it was after the campaign, but anyway, that's the picture when she made the decision to be restored. And her daughter, Valentina, doesn't know what's going on, but Miriam and I know what's going on. Her 2 daughters are not faithful right now either. The one who is holding the baby that's actually not her baby, that's her niece. Her name is Priscilla. After Miriam was restored, she arranged it for me to be able to talk to her daughters. The young lady next to the one holding the baby is Miyen. That is her baby. She had the baby out of wedlock, and she was concerned about what the church would think, et cetera, et cetera. And I told her, I said, you committed sin, but we love you, and we want you to come back. And she has always had a soft heart. In fact, when her family came back to the church in 2017, before they left in 2019, she was the reason, because she wanted to come to Vacation Bible School. She was 12 years old at the time, and she convinced her parents to let her go. And then after her and Priscilla and one of her brothers, Christian, went, then the whole family came the next night, and then they were restored. So I have some ties to that family, to say the least. This is where we wouldn't meet if we didn't have the Salon Comunal. You're not going to see 30 people in that place. And right now, when we have transportation for the folks, we do have 20 to 30 in attendance. We have a campaign plan for 2026. It's July 18th to the 25th. We have a group from Morrison of about 25 to 30 who plan on going, so I am very excited. I cannot tell you how much effort I have put into trying to put together a sizable campaign for the work in San Isidro and Pilar. A lot of effort has gone into it. Morrison is going to be bringing a group of about 25 to 30. We have 3 others who are going as well, and if you want to attend, you're welcome. The cost will be $700 per person plus airfare. Airfare will run you about $600 to $700. In the $700, everything is included. Hotel, food, you will probably have 1 or 2 meals out of pocket and walking around money, but that's it. Everything else is provided, 3 meals a day, your transportation, your translators, housing, all of it. we will stay in hotels. So you are needed because we'll teach VBS in the public schools. We also, here's a picture of a different campaign where we went to the public schools and taught the children there. They do allow that as long as you teach values. So we teach in the public schools, we'll evangelize, edify, encourage, and so your help is needed, ladies and men. So if you want to go, let me know. Okay. We talked about the local work in San Isidro and Pilar. San Isidro is the congregation that is in the town of 125,000 that was started 30 years ago. Pilar is the one that we started about a year ago because half of our members live there. We stay busy. Like I said, we have 10 to 15 studies that Tomas and I conduct each week. We had over 10 studies that we started after the campaign in Pilar. We have other men now who are helping. In fact, we'll talk about that more in a moment, but there has been money given so that a greater concentration can be made in Pilar and Cajon, and we look forward to that. Momo, David, and Miguel will be helping more in 2025. The goal is to build up both congregations in San Isidro and Pilar because I will be leaving in 2027. I have not been the preacher in San Isidro. They haven't had a preacher since 2012, but I serve basically as a preacher without the title and without other things. And when I say other things, probably in some regards, maybe not the respect of some in the congregation for other reasons. But nevertheless, they have a need for a preacher. They've had a need for a preacher for 13 years. They're not going to get a located preacher per se, but the 4 men who are helping out the work are going to be partially supported so that we can help the work grow. When I say that we continue the work after the campaign, here's a Bible study that we conduct on a weekly basis with Anna and Douglas. The young man that you see studying the Bible is their son. Pilar has areas that are very poor. In Costa Rica in general, it's not as poor as some countries in Latin America, but this is a dirt floor. They have a generator for lights. We're teaching at night, and I have to be honest, this is not normal in Costa Rica, but it's normal in this situation. We have the study about 5 o'clock at night on Saturday night, and it gets dark during that time, or 6, I think this is at 6 actually, and so we're studying by flashlight. Okay, this lady, I don't have a lot of time, but her name is Lucy. We met her in the campaign. I have another picture of her here. We studied with her a few times, and she has a Catholic background. She shared with me that she lost 19 children before they were aged 17 months. She had 5 who survived, but she lost 19 before they were 17, from stillborn until 17 months. And she believed that they were going to be lost because of what she had been taught. She didn't think she would ever be able to see them again. And I explained to her that no, that children are not born in sin. And so this is the picture that we took after that study, and she's happy, and we've been able to study with her some more as well. This is Vilma and Gerardo. They were baptized 3 years ago. They were living in San Isidro, now they live outside of Pilar. And so we are studying with them. Again, that's a primitive situation. They didn't have a bathroom. And so we're helping her to put in a bathroom in the back of her house. What is our plan for the local work? We have a donor who is going to give us $2,000 a month to help with the work in Pilar and San Isidro. We didn't ask for $2,000 a month. They decided that the husband and wife decided that that was what was needed. We did ask for about $1,200 a month because Tomas is going to receive $400 a month. He's my right hand. He doesn't receive a dime. And he goes out with me at least twice a week on studies, and he's involved in other things in the work. He's the treasurer at San Isidro. Momo, who is a tremendous evangelist, but really doesn't have preaching background, but is responsible for many of the visitors who came to the campaign, is going to receive $400 a month, but he has a family of 4, and so he still will work with us about 20 hours a week. Miguel, who has preaching background, is 74. He's the fellow that I showed you in that, teaching the young people. He doesn't have a lot of time to put in, or is not able to put in a lot of time because of health reasons and different things. But he will work some with us and receive $250 a month. And then the fellow that I showed you, David, he is, with Mike and Lisa, he is a Georgia School of Theology preaching school student. He will finish in August. He is moving to San Isidro in January, and so he'll be getting $250 a month. And then the other part will be used for the building and facilities and then other needs that the work has. So we're blessed that we received the $2,000 a month donation, and we look forward to using that to helping the church grow in Pilar and Cajon. That is not for the preaching school. That's different. This is allocated specifically for that work. Here's the church in San Isidro. We have about 30 in attendance usually, 20 to 30 in attendance. But since the campaign, when we have our combined service with the group from Pilar once a month, fourth Sunday of the month, we've been having 50 to 60. So we're very excited about not only the growth in Pilar, but how that's affected San Isidro as well. What did I do? Okay. Here is, after the campaign, here's our services in Pilar. You see there's about 20 there. And that's the family that I told you about. And the fellow in the background is Momo, who is her, Miriam's brother-in-law. There's David and Tomas. Momo, Tomas. So we're excited about the work that's being done in San Isidro, Pilar, and throughout Costa Rica. I'm involved in many things. Here's a campaign with Fried Hardeman. I help them out on a yearly basis. They come in March. Here's the campaign last March. They had over 100 on Sunday morning. I think for the the youth event, I think we had, I said campaign. This is a youth camp, and we had over 100 on Sunday morning. They did a campaign afterwards, but anyway, I think there were over 150 kids that were there for the youth camp, and we had like 120 on Sunday morning for worship. There's the group from Fried Hardeman. It's Chi Beta Chi, a tremendous group to work with. They've been coming for 4 years. We don't have any drama, I mean none. And they are hard workers. The work, there's the guys, you see me in the back. There's the ladies. The work in Costa Rica is not as easy as maybe some people think. And I just put this picture up so that you would have a dose of reality of what sometimes evangelizing in Costa Rica could be. I mean, I know it's real easy, right? They just open the door. No, they're standing at a gate trying to get in the door. And I've conducted many studies at gates and fences. Sometimes they let you sit down, sometimes you get in, but sometimes you have to walk hills. There's many hills in Sarchi. There's a lot of hills in Pilar too. So, don't get me wrong. I want you to come. I just don't want to give you a false idea that everybody that you talk to is just going to say, come on in. give you that South Georgia hospitality or Middle Tennessee hospitality. Not quite. Here's a youth event that I went to that was done at Camp Jenny Sue. This is the theater part of it, I guess. I put this picture up because this is Teo's widow. We visited her after Teo died, and she was having a difficult time, but she's doing much better, and actually she's teaching the young people at Gracia Perot, and so it was good to see her, and she wants to take classes from the school as well. She knows what a commitment Teo made to the work, and she's excited with what we're doing. So how can you help? Pray for our work. That's the first thing and most important thing. We appreciate what you have done, and we ask you to continue to pray for the work. If you're able to help out with the school, like I said, we're trying to raise $1,500 a month for the preaching school, and then eventually we need to raise another $4,000 a month when the school goes live in 2027. Why? Because you have to feed the students, you have to house the students, you have more teachers, more classes, so you have greater expenses. Plan to attend the campaign in July, if you're able, July 18th to 25th. We discussed that. Tell others about our work, please. Maybe you all aren't able to give more. I understand that. I appreciate everything that you do, but tell others that you know about the work. Again, thank you for the opportunity to share our work with you. I appreciate James and Nancy and the elders here. Appreciate everything that's being done. Appreciate your willingness to continue to evangelize and to do the Lord's work. One thing that I'll share with you finally, I always encourage every place that I go to bring, for each member to bring one person to Christ. So many people talk about, well, the church isn't growing like it should. Okay, what are we doing about it? And it's not easy to bring somebody to Christ. We had 3 baptisms in Pilar and Cajon, Pilar and San Isidro this year, 2 in San Isidro, 1 in Pilar. And I was involved in other baptisms and campaigns. It's not easy. You may have to make a list of 10 to 20 people, but reach out to others. Do what you can to bring somebody to Christ in 2026. I actually have 3 minutes left, 2 minutes maybe, for questions and answers. So does anybody have any questions or answers, questions about the work? We came back to the States twice last year, once for a personal issue, another time for polishing the pulpit. But my plan is to be in Costa Rica for the majority of the year next year, but I do have to come back from May to June, and then might come back for polishing the pulpit. We'll see. Anybody have any questions about the work? There it is. Thank you for your time and attention. May God bless you as you serve Him.